Growth Hacker Marketing by Ryan Holiday. Picture this. It's 1996. The internet sounds like a robot having a nervous breakdown every time you log on. Two guys, Sabir Bhatia and Jack Smith, have just created something they think is pretty cool. Free email you can check from anywhere. They call it Hotmail. When they pitch it to investor Tim Draper, he loves it. But then he asks them one simple question that makes them freeze. How will you get the word out? Their minds immediately go to the old playbook. Billboards? One of them suggests hopefully. Draper shakes his head. Way too expensive for something they're giving away for free. What about radio? Same problem. For a moment, it looks like this brilliant idea might just die in obscurity. Another victim of having zero marketing budget. Then Draper has this weird, almost ridiculous idea. Could you put a message at the bottom of everyone's email, he asks. The founders hesitate. It feels kind of tacky. But Draper keeps pushing. Just add something like, P.S. I love you. Get your free email at Hotmail. That one tiny feature, that simple idea they almost rejected, changed everything. It didn't just market the product. It turned the product into the marketing. Every single email became a mini advertisement. Within 6 months, they hit 1 million users. 5 weeks later, 2 million. In under 3 years, Hotmail reached 30 million users, and Microsoft bought them for $400 million. No billboards, no radio spots. Just one clever line of text. So why does this matter to you? Because this story reveals a quiet revolution that's completely reshaped how business, creativity, and influence actually work. It's about how tiny startups with empty pockets can demolish giants, and how ideas can spread like wildfire without spending a single dollar on traditional advertising. The person who documented this revolution is Ryan Holiday. At just 25, he was director of marketing for American Apparel, a massive global brand. He had the big office, the team, the whole deal. His playbook hadn't changed in 75 years. Buy ads, pitch reporters, throw events. He thought he'd made it. Then one day, he reads this headline that hits him like a punch to the gut. Growth Hacker is the new VP of marketing. He'd never heard the term before, but he quickly realized that a new breed of thinker, part marketer, part coder, part scientist, was making his entire profession obsolete. This book, Growth Hacker Marketing, tells the story of his awakening. Here's my promise. By the time we're done, you won't just understand this mindset. You'll actually be able to use it. Whether you're building an app, launching a YouTube channel, starting a school club, or just trying to get an idea to catch fire, you'll learn the hidden playbook that the fastest growing companies in the world use to explode. This isn't about having more money. It's about being smarter, more creative, and more in tune with what people actually want. Let's dive in. Let's travel back to that office Ryan Holiday described. Picture it. Big desk, stack of magazines to review, ad designs waiting for approval, invoices to sign off on. The work felt important, like something straight out of Mad Men. This was traditional marketing, an industry built on one grand fantasy, the blockbuster launch. You know the drill. Red carpet premiere, massive advertising blitz. The dream that on opening weekend, the entire world will be buzzing about your thing. For decades, this was the only playbook companies knew. They'd spend months, sometimes years, building something in secret. Then they'd toss it to the marketing department and say, okay, now go sell this. And the marketers would burn through millions trying to force the world to pay attention. The problem? It usually didn't work. Most movies bomb. Most products flop. And even when something succeeded, nobody really understood why. Was it the TV commercial, the billboard, the magazine spread? It was all just one massive, expensive gamble. For big movie studios and Fortune 500 companies, that was fine. They could afford a few failures because one big win would cover all the losses. But what about the rest of us? The startup founder with a dream and a maxed-out credit card? The creator who's poured their soul into a project? We don't have 10 backup projects. This is it. We can't afford to gamble. This is the broken system that the first growth hackers looked at and said, there has to be a smarter way. The very first shift in thinking is so profound it changes the entire game. A traditional marketer gets handed a product and told to sell it. A growth hacker looks at that same product and asks, wait, is this actually something people want? The single worst marketing decision you can make is starting with a product nobody needs. Yet for decades, that's exactly what everyone did. The growth hacker mindset begins way before launch day. It starts with something called product market fit. This sounds like corporate jargon, but the idea is beautifully simple. It means creating something that a specific group of people needs so desperately it practically sells itself. It's that perfect harmony between what you've made and the people you made it for. Take Airbnb. Today, it's a global powerhouse where you can rent everything from a tent to a literal castle. But it didn't start that way. In 2007, it was called Air Bed and Breakfast. The founders literally put air mattresses on their San Francisco loft floor and served guests homemade breakfast. Decent idea, but not exactly revolutionary. They could have spent every penny trying to convince the world that sleeping on an air mattress was amazing. But they didn't. They listened, they watched, they changed. They noticed hotels were always fully booked during big design conferences. So they pivoted, positioning their service as a networking alternative for conference attendees. That was better. They had a clearer target. But they sensed they could go further. They listened to feedback and realized people weren't just hunting for cheap crash pads. They wanted unique travel experiences, something more real than a cookie-cutter hotel. So they pivoted again. They dropped the breakfast, shortened the name to Airbnb, and expanded the vision. It wasn't about air mattresses anymore. It was about renting any unique space you could imagine. A private island, a treehouse, a castle. That was the explosive idea. They'd found product market fit. And their best marketing decision wasn't an ad campaign. It was changing their product until it became irresistible. Instagram has a similar origin story. It didn't start as the photo app we all know. It began as a location-based social network called Bourbon. It was complicated, mixing check-ins, plans, and photos all together. It had some dedicated users, but it wasn't taking off. The founders looked at their data and noticed something fascinating. People were ignoring most features, but using one part obsessively: the photo filters. So they made a gutsy call. They threw away almost everything they'd built. They stripped the app down to its most loved feature. Take a photo, add a beautiful filter, share it. They relaunched as Instagram. Within 1 week, they had 100,000 users. 18 months later, Facebook bought them for $1 billion. This is the heart of growth hacker philosophy. Marketing isn't something you slap on after the product is built. Marketing is the process of building the product. The marketer's job is to be in the room with engineers and designers, asking the tough questions. Who exactly are we building this for? What problem are we solving? What do our first users love, and what do they completely ignore? It's about humility. About being willing to trash months of work, because the evidence shows you're heading in the wrong direction. The prize doesn't go to whoever gets to market first. It goes to whoever achieves product market fit first. Because once you get there, all your marketing efforts become like striking a match near gasoline-soaked kindling. The old way? It's like trying to light that match in the pouring rain and praying for a miracle. So let's say you've done the hard work. You've listened, you've changed, you've pivoted, and you've built something a core group of people truly loves. You have product market fit. Now what? The old playbook says it's time for that blockbuster launch, time to get on the front page of the New York Times, time to reach millions of people all at once. The growth hacker resists this fantasy. Instead of a sledgehammer, they use a scalpel. Their goal isn't reaching everyone. It's reaching the right people, those first true fans, as cheaply and effectively as possible. This is the second stage, finding your growth hack. This is about creating that initial spark, that push that gets your engine started, and it almost never looks like traditional marketing. Look at Dropbox. When they started, They had a brilliant file-sharing product, but it was tough to explain. How could they show people its magic? They could have dumped money into ads. Instead, founder Drew Houston made a simple 3-minute demo video. But this wasn't just any video. He knew exactly who his first customers would be. Tech-savvy early adopters hanging out on sites like Dig and Reddit. So he stuffed the video with inside jokes and references. Only that community would catch. He wasn't trying to appeal to everyone's grandmother. He was speaking directly to his tribe. He posted the video on those sites, and it exploded. Overnight, Dropbox's waiting list jumped from 5,000 people to 75,000. That one perfectly targeted video was all the launch they needed. No press release, no TV spot, just capturing the attention of their core audience. And those 75,000 people became the seed that eventually grew into hundreds of millions of users. The key insight: go where your target users already hang out. If you're building something for fashion lovers, you don't buy a Times Square billboard. You find a way to get featured on the top fashion blogs they read religiously. If you're building a tool for gamers, you don't pitch the Wall Street Journal. You connect with influential Twitch streamers. Sometimes the growth hack gets even more clever. It's about piggybacking on someone else's platform. When PayPal was just starting, they didn't try competing head-to-head with Visa and MasterCard. They noticed a booming marketplace where people desperately needed to send money: eBay. So they focused all their energy on becoming the best payment solution for eBay users. They effectively borrowed their initial growth from eBay's massive user base. What Airbnb did with Craigslist was equally brilliant. They knew people hunting for short-term rentals were already on Craigslist. But Craigslist was clunky and anonymous. Airbnb was beautiful and built on trust. So their engineers built a tool letting anyone listing on Airbnb cross-post to Craigslist with one click. Suddenly, this tiny unknown website had free distribution on one of the biggest sites in the world. A traditional marketer would never have even thought of that. It took an engineer, focused on solving the growth problem, to come up with such an elegant solution. This is the art of the growth hack: finding a unique, creative, often technical way to get your product in front of people who'll love it most. It could be a stunt, like when Uber offered free rides to tech influencers at South by Southwest, knowing they were stuck without cabs. It could be creating exclusivity with an invite-only system, like Mailbox did, building a massive waiting list and tons of buzz. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's trackable and effective. The goal is simple: pull in that first small group of passionate users. Because the next step isn't about you shouting about your product anymore, it's about empowering them to do it for you. You've built something great. You've found your first 1,000 true fans. Now how do you turn 1 into 2, and 2 into 4? How do you make it go viral? In every marketing meeting, someone eventually says those magic words: "We need this to go viral." They say it like it's something you can just order, like pizza delivery. But virality isn't an accident. It's not magic. It's engineered. This is the third stage: making it spread. Growth hackers understand a fundamental truth. You're asking your users to spend their social capital for you. You're asking them to put their reputation on the line by recommending your product to friends, family, and colleagues. That's a huge favor. The only way they'll do it is if you make it incredibly easy and incredibly rewarding. Virality must be baked into the product itself. Let's go back to Hotmail. That little PS line wasn't just an ad, it was a viral engine. Every user became a salesperson. The product was designed to spread. Dropbox perfected this model. After their initial demo video success, they tried running paid Google ads. The results were terrible. It cost them almost $400 in advertising to acquire a single paying customer. Completely unsustainable. Then they had their breakthrough. They built a referral program. The offer was dead simple. Invite a friend to Dropbox, and when they sign up, you both get extra free storage space. Win-win. Almost overnight, sign-ups jumped 60%. Today, more than a third of all Dropbox users come from this referral program. They didn't pay for ads. They paid their users in a currency they controlled, digital storage, to do the marketing for them. This principle of built-in incentives is everywhere. Think of Groupon. Every deal comes with, refer a friend, get $10. Living Social went further. Get this deal free if 3 friends buy through your link. They turned their customers into a commission-based sales force. But incentives are only half the equation. The other crucial piece is making your product visible. Humans are copycats. We see what others are doing and want to do it too. So growth hackers constantly ask, how can we make using our product more visible? Apple is the master of this. Why are their headphones white? When every other headphone was black, that simple design choice turned every iPod and iPhone user into a walking billboard. You could spot them on the subway, at the gym, walking down the street. It created what social scientist Jonah Berger calls behavioral residue, evidence of the product that sticks around long after purchase. This is why almost every email from a new app has that little line, sent from my iPhone or sent from mailbox, free advertising, built directly into product use. When Spotify integrated with Facebook, it was genius. Suddenly, all your friends could see what you were listening to in real time. It sparked millions of conversations that started with, hey, what's this Spotify thing? The goal is designing a product that advertises itself. The more public it is, the more people see it, copy it, and the more likely it spreads. You can't just slap a share on Facebook button on something and hope. You have to ask why someone would share it. Does it make them look smart? Does it offer them a real reward? Does it connect them to friends? You have to give them a reason. Virality isn't luck, it's science. And it starts by thinking of your users not just as customers, but as your most powerful marketing channel. So the engine's running, your product is solid, you've acquired your first users, you've even built features helping it spread virally. You should be done, right? Just sit back and watch the numbers climb. Not so fast. This is where traditional marketing usually calls it quits. They get the leads, bring customers through the door, and their job is over. Someone else's problem to keep them. But for growth hackers, this is where some of the most important work begins. What's the point of working so hard to get new customers if they just pour right out through a hole in your bucket? This is the final, crucial stage, closing the loop through retention and optimization. Growth isn't just about acquisition. It's about keeping the users you have and making them so happy they never want to leave. Because a happy, dedicated user is the best marketing tool you could ever ask for. In its early days, Twitter had exactly this problem. They were getting tons of media buzz, people were signing up in droves. But there was a catch. Most weren't sticking around. They'd create an account, look at a confusing empty timeline, and bounce, never to return. The bucket was leaking badly. The marketing team could have bought more ads to pump in even more signups, but they were smart enough to realize that would be like pouring water into a sieve. Their best marketing move had nothing to do with attracting new customers. It was about fixing the product for the ones they already had. A growth hacker named Josh Ellman dug into the data. He and his team combed through the numbers, hunting for patterns, and they found one. They discovered that if a new user followed at least 5 to 10 accounts on their very first day, they were dramatically more likely to understand Twitter's value and become a long-term active user. Armed with this insight, they completely redesigned the sign-up process. Instead of dropping you into an empty feed, they started actively suggesting interesting accounts based on your interests. That one small change, driven by data, had a massive impact on retention. They plugged the hole. This is the mindset of constant optimization. It's the humility to know your product is never truly done. There are always parts that can be better. Maybe the sign-up button on your homepage is the wrong color. Maybe your checkout process has one too many steps. Maybe users don't know about your most powerful feature. The growth hacker is a scientist. They use tools to track what users actually do. They run A/B tests, showing one version of a web page to one group and a different version to another, seeing which performs better. They're obsessed with data, not because they love spreadsheets, but because data provides clarity in a world that's been dominated by gut instinct for too long. Sometimes the solution is surprisingly low-tech. A startup called Dog Vacay, which is like Airbnb for dogs, noticed many people would sign up but never actually book a pet sitter. So for a while, they tried something that doesn't seem scalable at all. They personally called them. A team member would call a new user and say, "Hey, we saw you signed up. Can we help you with anything?" They'd walk them through the service and help find their first host. This personal touch turned countless browsers into active, loyal users. The point is, it's almost always more profitable to focus on customers you already have than to chase new ones. A tiny 5% increase in customer retention can lead to a 30% increase in profitability. It's far easier selling to an existing happy customer than a brand new stranger. As one growth hacker puts it, retention trumps acquisition. Ryan Holiday brings all these steps together with a story of his own. When he helped author Tim Ferriss launch his book, The 4-Hour Chef, they faced disaster. Almost every major bookstore in the country refused to carry it. Traditional channels were completely shut. They had to rely on growth hacking. First, product market fit. Tim didn't just write a book. He designed each chapter to appeal to specific communities, testing ideas on his blog to see what resonated with his audience. Second, finding their growth hack. Instead of begging for newspaper reviews, they targeted high-traffic blogs their ideal readers actually visited and tracked sales from each one. Third, virality. This was their masterstroke. They partnered with BitTorrent, a file-sharing platform with 170 million users. They created a free bundle with over 250 pages of bonus material, videos, interviews, extras, the ultimate try before you buy. 2 million people downloaded that free bundle, driving hundreds of thousands of sales, a viral success no bookstore could have delivered. Finally, optimization. They tracked everything. They knew which blog posts drove sales and which didn't. They knew exactly how effective the BitTorrent campaign was. They weren't guessing. They were learning, ready to apply those lessons to the next launch. That's the full loop. It starts with relentlessly focusing on making something people want. It kicks off with a targeted push to find your first fans. It grows by engineering virality into the product itself. And it sustains itself by obsessively optimizing and retaining every user you earn. It's not a checklist. It's a fluid, continuous cycle. And it's a mindset that's redefining what it means to make an idea spread. So what do we actually take away from all this? When you strip away all the stories and examples, you're left with one powerful central idea. Marketing is no longer a department. It's a mindset that can and should flow through every single part of a business or creative project. For generations, we were taught to think of marketing as the megaphone, the thing you grab at the very end to shout about what you've made. Ryan Holiday shows us that this model isn't just outdated, it's incredibly wasteful. The new model, the growth hacker model, thinks of marketing as the compass, the tool you use from the very beginning to guide you toward building something people will want to share. What I find so liberating about this approach is that it puts power back in the creator's hands. You don't need a massive budget. You don't need fancy PR agency connections. What you need is curiosity, willingness to listen, and courage to test and be wrong. The tools of the internet have made it possible for anyone to track, test, and improve their ideas in ways that were impossible just a generation ago. This isn't just for tech startups in Silicon Valley. If you're an author, you can test chapter ideas on a blog. If you're a musician, you can release a single to a small group of fans and get feedback before producing the whole album. If you're leading a school project, you can survey your classmates to find out what they actually find interesting, rather than just guessing. This is the essence of product market fit, and it applies to everything. So how can you start thinking like a growth hacker today? Here are 3 simple actions you can take. First, find your own product market fit. Before going all in on your next big idea, create what Eric Ries calls a minimum viable product. This could be a simple demo, a single blog post, or a quick sketch. Share it with a small group, not friends and family who'll tell you what you want to hear, but the people you actually want to serve. Ask them 2 simple questions. What did you love? And what was missing? Then be prepared to change your idea based on what they say. Second, find your one true channel. Instead of trying to be everywhere at once, spreading yourself thin across every social platform, do some research. Where does your ideal audience, your first 100 fans, actually hang out online? Is it a specific subreddit? A niche Facebook group? A particular TikTok hashtag? Find that one place and go there to provide value. Answer questions, share your knowledge, build relationships before you ever ask for anything. Third, bake in one viral loop. Think about the thing you're creating. Is there one small, simple way you can encourage people to share it? It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be as simple as creating an incredibly shareable quote graphic from your presentation. It could be an offer like, bring a friend to our club meeting, and you both get free pizza. Make it easy and rewarding for your first fans to become your evangelists. At its core, growth hacking is about shifting from arrogance to humility. It's moving away from the build it and they will come fantasy and embracing the scientific process of testing, learning, and changing. It's understanding that the most effective marketing isn't a loud advertisement. It's a product or idea that's so good, so useful, and so perfectly suited to its audience that it can't help but spread. That was the book summary of Growth Hacker Marketing by Ryan Holiday. We've journeyed through the core principles today, but I want to be honest with you. A summary is like looking at a travel brochure. It can show you the beautiful pictures, but it can never replace actually being there. The real magic of this book is in the details, the specific case studies, the way Ryan Holiday connects the dots, and the mindset shift that happens when you immerse yourself in his thinking. This summary is your map, designed to help you decide if this journey is one you want to take. If any of the ideas we've discussed today have sparked something in you, if you feel that pull of curiosity, then I truly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning tactics. It's about fundamentally rewiring how you think about creating and sharing ideas. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you a new perspective, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another game-changing book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.